Today, we're going to talk about how to spot an emotionally evolved man or woman in this conversation today. So, where this video was birthed was from a post I did on my social media. So, I want to read it to you, and then we're going to dive into what an emotionally evolved man or woman looks like, even though this is probably a little bit more focused on the men, because this was originally based on me. So, let me share with you the post, and it goes like this. When a man thinks he's lost his masculinity, he's usually becoming more of a man. For years, I thought I wasn't very masculine. After my financial crash, my identity collapsing, losing my son, and everything that cracked me wide open, I quietly told myself I was weak. Not in the obvious ways, but in the subtle, private ways that men rarely admit out loud. I even told my beloved before we ever went on a date, I said, I think I'm 51% feminine and 49% masculine. And at the time, I believed that because I didn't look like the old version of a man. I wasn't stoic like my father. I wasn't the guy with endless certainty. I wasn't the planner of everything man. I wasn't emotionally shut down or financially invincible. So in my mind, that meant something was wrong with me. But here's what I missed completely. Everything I rebuilt after the crash, the emotional scaffolding, the empathy, the communication, the self-awareness, wasn't me becoming less masculine. It was me becoming more of a conscious man. And I didn't fully see it until I experienced it on the inside of a healthy relationship. Let me repeat that. I didn't really recognize it until I got into a healthy relationship. Because today, with my beloved, here's what surprised me. I led the direction of our relationship. I'm the one that holds the vision of where we're going. I bring up the emotional conversations that deepen our connection. I create the structure for honesty and clarity. I take the sexual lead in ways that allow her to soften and surrender. I initiate the practical discussions about building a life together, and she thrives in that. She trusts that she relaxes into it. Ironically, these are the exact qualities I never gave myself credit for. These are the qualities I once thought made me less masculine. Now I see they were my masculinity coming alive in a deeper, more grounded form. Not the old masculine model, not forced or bravado, not perfection under pressure, not controlling everything, not stuffing my emotions, but direction, presence, integrity, truth, vision, sexual leadership, and rational responsibility and emotional courage. And yes, I still wobble under stress sometimes. I still get triggered when my life feels uncertain. I still feel the old imprint from my childhood that says, you should be stronger. But here's the thing. Those moments aren't femininity. They're humanity. They're nervous system patterns I'm still rewiring. They don't disqualify my masculinity, they make it honest. Because the real masculine isn't the man who never bends. It's the man who shows up even when he feels fear. The man who leads the conversations that matter, the man who tells the truth with tenderness, the man who chooses integrity over ego, the man who keeps rising after every fall. If you're a man who worries you've lost your masculinity because life humbled you, or because you grew emotionally, or because you led with empathy, or because you don't fit the old model, let me tell you what I've learned. You didn't lose your masculinity. You lost the mask. What came alive afterward, that's the man you were always meant to be. And if you're a man reading this or listening to this, and you can relate, if you ever want to talk, reach out to me. By the way, that took me 3.5 minutes to read. I didn't realize that. So as I'm sharing this with you, this video was birthed when I started to think of some of the qualities or some of the experiences that my now beloved experiences in our relationship. And everything I'm going to share, I'm a man sharing this. She does the exact same thing from the feminine. How to spot an evolved masculine or feminine man or woman. I'm hoping that what I'm sharing with you today gives you some insight. So please make sure you write these down, go back and rewind it and copy this, because I want this in your reticular activating system. I want this in the back of your mind when you're in the dating process, when you're actively in the dating process. And I get it. If you're single looking for love, it can be very challenging right now. It might feel like you're in a sea of dysfunctionality, and that's sadly because, and I was there 20 years ago. I was a broken man. I'd lost everything. I'd lost my identity. I lost my money. I lost what I thought was my masculinity. But it was through the struggle, through the rebirthing, that I was able to find my own way as what I call, or what I affectionately will call, an evolved person, or at least a person who's attempting to evolve, at least a person who's attempting to grow past their limitations, their fears, their insecurities, their negative patterns, their judgments of others. Folks, it requires looking in the mirror, an honest look in the mirror. And believe me, I work with men and women alike. It is so amazing how we can gaslight ourselves, how delusional we can be to our own frailties. And it requires looking in the mirror and being honest with oneself and saying, you know what? I'm not perfect. I recognize not everyone else is perfect. So how can we grow as an individual for oneself? And how can we choose people who are also grown up as well? How to spot them. So number one, whether it's a man or woman, they lead with emotional courage. They lead with emotional courage, not ego. They initiate the hard conversations. They stay present when things get uncomfortable. And they tell the truth with tenderness rather than defensiveness. Emotional leadership is the strength, not the shame. By the way, I'm reading from my notes, so please forgive me if you see my eyes going this way. And sometimes I look at the screen. So if you ever see my eyes look down like I am right now, they lead with emotional courage, not ego. I want you to sit and embrace that for a moment. What does emotional courage mean? It means being vulnerable. It means being authentic. It means being transparent. What is transparency? If it's material to the relationship, it's important to speak up. It's about having those hard conversations, what I call those radically honest conversations. In fact, in my private coaching, I have a section called Radical Honesty, pre-qualifying your prospect. That means asking, when we mean tougher questions, we mean those questions to evoke some sort of understanding about how one person thinks, how they feel, what their needs are, what their desires are. It's about opening up beyond the surface of, how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. Tell me about your day. You know, it fascinates me. I have clients that will send me screenshots of their conversations. And believe me, I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of screenshots, and they seem to all be the same. How's your day going? Did you have a good day? They're not having the tough conversations. And by the way, you should never have a tough conversation via text message. Please, please don't infer that from what I'm saying. You should never have a tough conversation via text message. All right, another thing that emotionally evolved grown-up men and women have alike, they hold a vision and a direction of the relationship. They hold a vision and direction of the relationship. They think in terms of we. They consider the practical steps of life building. And they create forward momentum without controlling or dominating. Their leadership feels like clarity, not pressure. Now, by the way, I know if you're a woman watching this, you want the man to take the lead, but I'm here to encourage a co-creative experience. And while the man might be the leader at 51%, could be 55%. I think a healthy relationship is a combined balance of both givers and receivers, both givers and receivers. All right, next, they own their humanity instead of hiding it. They own their humanity instead of hiding it. They don't need to pretend that they're unshakable, that they're so confident and so stoic. You know, the reality is we human beings are flawed. We're fragile. If we're pretending, by the way, do you know, like, the number one thing they tell women about dating is you should be confident. They tell men you need to be confident. You know, we are scared beings for the most part. Sure, we can show confidence in some areas, but on emotional levels, we are still a bunch of 6-year-olds. By the way, when I wrote my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work, it's to recognize that self-love is self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-reliance, self-discipline. But most importantly, what self-love is to recognize that we all have an emotional 6-year-old inside of us that just needs a big hug and says, I've got your back. That's what confidence is. We don't hide our humanity. We lean into it. We own it. Next, they create emotional safety through presence. They create emotional safety through presence. Do you know how many people in the dating realm, in the relationship realm, they're either thinking in the past or they're focused on the future? Usually by the way, they're both fear-based most of the time. When you're stuck in the past, it's because you have a past hurt, a pain. And when it's future sense, it's usually either an egoic fantasy, or it can be fear of emotional collapse. It can be fear of abandonment. You know, I invite everyone to look at their past relationships and ask themselves, what positive things about myself did I learn in each one of my relationships? How have I healed from a relationship? Or how has that relationship helped me heal? What was good about the relationship? I think we should lean into the good parts and certainly ask ourselves what wasn't so good, because we want to be a reminder of what we don't want in the future. And lastly, what are we most grateful for? The reason why I'm saying this in the area of presence is when we can come from a place of a healthy past, that we don't need to be in fear. We don't need to have pain. And let me just tell you this. We are swimming in a sea of vanity and fantasy for so many people. They outvalue themselves. And what I mean to say is, it seems like everybody wants someone 10 times better than themselves. Now, I know that sounds like a judgment when I say that, but the reality is we oftentimes are in a delusion about our own capacity to what we can attract. You see it all the time. Women see it all the time. They see it with men who want women 20 or 30 years younger. Those men are in delusion. And women are in delusion hoping that they're going to find a man over 6 foot tall, 6-figure income, and 6-pack abs with a 6-inch penis, because that only represents a small percentage of the population. Anyways, presence. That's about understanding oneself from a self-aware place. Recognizing our fears, our insecurities, our negative patterns, our judgments of others, and letting go of all that and just focusing on the moment at hand. You know, a great practice of presence. There's a tree outside my window right there. I observe the leaves. I observe the leaves. I observe the wind shaking the leaves. I observe that. That's presence. Just in that moment, I was looking out the window, present. Create emotional safety through presence. Next, lead the sexual aspect of the relationship. It allows each one of you to soften and feel trust. Each one of you lead. Be attuned, be grounded, initiate. Men are thirsty for women initiating, and women are so thirsty for men to initiate the sexual aspects of the relationship. You know what? It saddens me to say that most people are bad at sex to begin with. Let me reframe that. We're not bad at sex. We're not bad at sticking the penis inside the vagina. You know what we're bad at? We're bad at making love. I mean, I'm talking about present, grounded love. This wasn't taught. It's something that you work on from the inside out. And guess what? This is something you can build within the relationship. And by the way, someone who's willing to work in this area is an evolved masculine or feminine man or woman. Another thing that evolved people do is they practice accountability without shame or blame. They practice accountability without shame or blame. When they mess up, they own it. No gaslighting, no disappearing, no excuses. Oh God, I have to repeat that. They take accountability without shame or blame. When they mess up, there's no gaslighting, there's no disappearing, and there's no excuses. They take responsibility for their impact and they care about your well-being. When you care about someone else's well-being, that's one of the highest definitions of trust. Highest definition of trust. We oftentimes point the finger. Do you know what happens when you point a finger? There's 3 fingers pointing back. There's 3 fingers pointing back. You got to look back at yourself. That's what shame and blame does. And guess what? When you do that, you're just mirroring your own insecurities, your fears, your issues. You're messing up. When you take ownership of it, when you don't gaslight, when you don't disappear and you don't make excuses, you start to experience a more evolved, juicy, delicious, healthy, happy relationship. And I'm here to promote life partnership-based relationships. I know it's tough out there. The casual relationships now outnumber serious relationships, situationships, friends with benefits and hooking up. That's the most common relationship today. If you want that juicy, delicious life partnership based relationship, then it's going to require rolling up your sleeves and doing the inner work to be in the space of what I talked about today is evolved. And last but not least, masculinity and femininity come from depth, not dominance. They're not posturing. They're not overcompensating. They're not trying to prove anything. Masculinity and femininity come from emotional depth, self-awareness, grounded integrity, not from the outdated roles or fragile pride. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? I hope you took notes. I hope you go back and write this down. I want you to start paying attention to the communication you have with another human being. Is it talking about your day or is it talking about feelings? Are you talking about feelings? Lean into that for a second. Are you talking about feelings? Are you talking about how you feel about things, how you felt about things in the past? See, an evolved person isn't afraid to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to be transparent. An evolved person isn't. In fact, you know what? They lean into it because they know a deeply committed relationship requires emotional depth. And they're willing to roll up their sleeves. And if they don't know how to do something, they go learn it. Maybe they buy the book. Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. I highly recommend checking out this book. All the books I recommend are listed below, just like my book. If you haven't read this book, it should be in your repertoire before you ever have sex with anyone ever again. Because when you come from an evolved place, you build a grounded relationship that demonstrates trust, demonstrates safety. And guess what? The sex will be off the charts when you create a safe, grounded space for a relationship. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's links to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's links to follow me on social media. There's links to get all the books I recommend, all listed below. All right, those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box there. I want you to write the word question and post the question there after. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay. That's a picture of him right there with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away over 7 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. Our goal tonight's $50, so we'd appreciate some love. And if you want to join the love seat, if you want to talk to me live right now, I just posted a link. That's that StreamYard link. You can join me live and we can have a conversation. So let's see some of the comments that have popped in so far. Gigi just popped in. She said, it's raining men. Met a wonderful man online 2 weeks ago and another one tonight. Can't handle them. Ladies, jump in. Well, that's great that you're meeting wonderful men. By the way, folks, if you're a woman watching this, I have a little song to sing for you. It's raining great men. It's raining great men. It's raining great men. I invite you to activate your reticular activating system with that perception that it's just raining great people in your life. And if you do that, look at, even Mom says, yes, absolutely. See? Larry just popped in. He says, so when a detective wants to solve a murder, he secretly wants to murder? Well, not exactly. Come on, Larry, you know better than that. But when a detective wants to solve a murder, guess what he does? He interrogates people, Larry. Do you know what interrogation is? It's about getting to the truth, getting to the truth. And by the way, if you ever watched a detective do an interrogation, they beautifully master the questions in such a way that it builds friendship or builds, rapport. And then they ask those tough questions. And do you know what? 87% of the time, guilty people confess in the interrogation. That's what dating is. It's an interrogation. I'm saying a little tongue in cheek, okay? But yes, it is about asking deeper, tougher questions. So, and oftentimes when we're judging another, it is a mirror of our own shit. Okay? It's a mirror of our own shit. All right, Babby says, when I miss my boyfriend, so I get upset. Wait a minute, let me read this again this way. When I miss my boyfriend so much, I get upset at him at stupid things. Why? Well, most likely you don't feel safe. You have an unregulated nervous system. And because you don't know how to navigate your emotions in a way to recognize that a lot of this is made up, this anger that you have towards him. And I'm not suggesting that someone could do something disingenuous to you, but think about when children screw up. Do we get upset with them? No, we recognize that we are swimming in a sea of emotional immaturity between men and women alike. So I understand your propensity to get upset, but would you beat a child? Would you hit a child if they did something stupid? No, you just recognize that most human beings have an emotional 6-year-old inside of them, yourself included. And how do we regulate it? By giving ourselves a big, gigantic hug of love when we're feeling dysregulated. Gigi's back in. She says, I absolutely believe I manifested the first one, became the magnetic attractor as our great coach teaches. Well, first off, thank you so much, Gigi. I appreciate that. I'm going to give you an example of something. I'm going to use a golf analogy. Golf, par 3, over water. If you keep saying, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water, what's going to happen? You're going to hit it in the water, most likely. What if you just start saying something like, hit the ball, land softly on the green next to the pin. Hit the ball, land softly on the green next to the pin. You have a greater chance of that happening. So that's what manifestation is. Focus more on what you want from a healthy place than focusing on what you don't want. Most people are so hyper-focused on they don't want that they keep attracting what they don't want. All right. Denise says, I'm in a relationship with a man who is not emotionally available. I was so busy being love bombed and loving every minute, I did not ask questions or investigate his emotional stability. Yeah, I have a very dear friend. She got love bombed by a guy I warned her about. I knew of a man who has a propensity to cheat and be disingenuous, and I warned a friend of mine about her, but boy, she got sucked in by the love bombing. And for 3 months, she was in what she thought was the most amazing relationship of her life until he did exactly what I said he would, exactly at the 3-month mark. He said, I'm going back to my wife. This guy has done this so many times. The bodies are buried from here to the next city I live in. Excuse my French about bodies being buried. But, people that love bomb and we get sucked in. I mean, the minute someone's okay, here's the thing. It feels good to have someone chase us. It feels good to have someone invest in us. It feels good. But when it's excessive, we know it. We know when it's excessive. And if we're suckling on the nipple of that excess, it just means that we have a deficient, most likely a strong deficiency of love within ourselves. And it's an invitation to put the brakes. And by the way, most of the time, by the way, any relationship that comes on strong usually crashes and burns equally as fast. So I'm sorry you experienced that, Denise. But it just reminds us all to ask those deeper questions. But the minute someone comes on too strong, slow the pace down. But it usually means they have an unregulated nervous system. They're working on chemicals in their body being released, like dopamine, oxytocin, testosterone. And it means that they don't know how. Most likely, anyone who over extenuates themselves excessively with love bombing probably isn't a good partner to begin with. Okay. All right. Thanks for jumping in on that. Joe Daisy's in the house. Hi, Jonathan and Chatsters. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hey, who wants to join the love seat? I just posted a link right now. Let's see the next question that's popped in. Oops, let me go here. All right. Miss Chic, let's see. Question, do that missing emotion trigger past hurts from childhood or former relationships? You could be projecting that emotion onto an innocent party. You know, I think it's interesting. When my beloved and I are on our days apart, I recognize I don't miss her. Partially because I feel secure in the relationship. I don't feel a sense of missing. I miss the company, but I don't miss her from an anxious, insecure place. I think when we feel anxious and insecure, it's usually a fear within ourselves of abandonment. That's the way I interpret it. And yes, we could be projecting our emotions onto someone else. Now, again, there's a difference between, God, I wish we were together versus, oh my God, I miss her, like from a place of anxiety. It's one thing to miss someone from a grounded, secure place, but boy, if you're feeling anxiety over being apart from someone, that really suggests some inner work needs to be done, some grounded work needs to be done. And this takes sometimes years and years to rewire our brains. It takes years and years sometimes to rewire our brains. So let's keep going here. All right, question. Is there a chance our relationship could not work out if his son is not ready for a stepmom? I think children can create problematic issues within a relationship. Absolutely. I think children can create problematic issues. And boy, you know, I mean, by the way, by the way, family members, our parents can also be problematic as well. But yeah, I'm not a therapist, so I wouldn't know how to best address that. I think what's needed most likely is to build a relationship with the child. And it depends on how much their mother influences them as well. But here's the thing. If you and your partner come at it from a kind, loving space to the child, and you've declared that you guys are going to build a partnership together, then it's, I don't think it should preclude. I don't think I would abandon the relationship, but it depends on how strong I'm assuming the man in this case, because your name is Babby, is very strong and confident about your relationship. If he's given, you know, by the way, if you give our children too much power, they're going to run over us. So hopefully he's not giving his child that much power. But then again, this deserves a deeper conversation. Again, you probably even want to work with a therapist on this, depending on the dynamic the son has, even with his own mom. So, all right. Hey, do you have a question? Write the word question and post the question there after. Once again, if you found value in what I had to say, post a comment below. I do my best to read them all within the 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's links to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's links to follow me on social media. And I'd be honored to be of service to you. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Barrick of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, pet, a teddy bear, a pillow. Give it or them a hug of love because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank everyone. Babby says, you are awesome, Jonathan. And so smart. Thanks so much. Denise says, I wish I found you online 2 years ago. I wish you did too. If you need some support, schedule a call with me. All right, Joe Daisy, thanks for being on. I appreciate you. Wishing you all a super